I will say you should take risks, and what happens is for the spouses or for the business partners, when you see that they're exuding enough confidence in whatever their strategy is, just support them, because naysaying and second guessing and all that stuff is never going to do anything good for you.
This show was created with the sole purpose of being able to inspire other people and to be able to give back.
Hey guys, welcome back to Investment Fund Secrets. I'm Bridger Pennington. Today we got a really special guest with us, Mr. Aaron Wagner. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Pleasure, man. Thanks for coming in.
So Aaron runs Wags Capital. I would say unconventionally, kind of in the fund world, syndicate world, raising money, doing deals. Former pro football player. Anyways, we'll get into all of this in this episode. Pretty exciting though. Well, Aaron, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
Doing great.
So Aaron's got how many kids?
I got 7 kids.
Wow.
12 and under.
Oh my goodness.
And so we've got a little bit of chaos at home, but we manage our madness, and that's
Oh my
pretty
goodness. So, but yeah, before we dive into things, you've been married how long with your wife?
Coming up on 15 years.
Wow, okay.
And we were married in college my junior year, and somehow or another we've made it through. So,
Jeez, that's exciting.
Every day is a challenge with a lot of kids and a lot of business stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it's what keeps things exciting.
So, Wags Capital right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive probably all into this, but what are you guys currently working on and doing?
Yeah.
Where are you kind of at? And tell us the story on Wags Capital too. How'd you get started? How'd you get going to that? And tell us where you're at now.
Sure. So I got into business after I was done playing football. I actually started while I was in college. I started flipping homes on the side. So after I was done playing football, after practice, I would go to a house and I'd be laying carpet or I'd be painting walls, and I just got into the business because quite frankly, I'm an immigrant from Canada, and so I wasn't able to work off campus, and international students were actually only allowed to work 20 hours on campus. And so I just couldn't make enough money. I came from a family that was really, really poor, and so we didn't have any other means. I was driving like a 1984 50cc Raz scooter. For $6 I could fill it up and drive it for like 2 weeks. But my scholarship check was like $430 a month, and when you're 245 pounds, eating 6,000 calories a day, that doesn't go very far.
Yeah. And
so after rent and everything else, it was just like there wasn't much left. And so I ended up talking to one of my former mission companions' dad into putting a down payment on a house. I did the research and I said, hey, I've got a whole bunch of teammates. I know they get a scholarship check on the first of every month. They can pay me rent. So we found a house. He put a down payment on the house for me. He co-signed because I didn't have any credit being a Canadian citizen and an international student, and I couldn't qualify for Pell Grants. I couldn't get any of the additional funding that most other people have. And so I started renting out. One of the cool things, very unique about BYU, is that in most places, college campuses throughout the world, there's no way in heck you could ever get college students to literally share bedrooms. I mean, it just doesn't happen. But at BYU, it's really common because they're trying to save money.
It's just cheap,
lifestyle, and so you can actually just rent out by the bed. And so we had a few bedrooms in there where we had 2 and 3 sets of bunk beds, and we were charging $250 for a bunk bed, one bed on the bunk bed.
Oh wow, yeah.
So we had bedrooms that we were bringing in $1,500 in rent just on one room.
It's a great cap rate, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we were crushing it. All of a sudden, my $430 scholarship check didn't seem like that much because I was making $1,500 off renting one room out in the bedroom or in the house. Anyway, so I just got really lucky. We timed the sale of that house really, really well, made a bunch of money. I rolled it into a couple other condos where after football practice I was laying carpet, painting walls, changing light fixtures. And again, timing was really good to me.
And this mentor was co-signing again on these new properties?
Yeah, he really wasn't much of a mentor, but he was a really good help to us.
Gotcha.
I mean, he really, he's a good guy. He put the down payment, he co-signed, but after that, just that first deal, that was it. After that, I had my own money, and so I was talking sellers into just carrying paper for me with a down payment, and I was able to just go in and then flip those, and it worked out really good. So that's kind of what launched me into the business side, like real estate. And while I was playing pro football, obviously I was able to establish a really cool network of guys, but not just good guys that were making a ton of money. These were guys that during the crash, where everybody else that had made their money in business or real estate was getting really stung, but my teammates were all still making a ton of money. and quite frankly, they didn't know what to do with it. For them, I remember I started doing deals with a couple of my former teammates, and they were going really well. And because the pro football world's kind of this network or fraternity of good old boys, it was one of those situations where if we did a good deal, it was like, hey, dude, you should put your money with Wags. He's our guy, you know? And so it became really easy. It's what people in the institutional or like kind of the savvy business world called dumb money. And I don't mean that to be condescending to any of my former teammates, but they made their money playing football. They didn't make their money in business or in real estate. And so it was one of those things where like literally my pitch was like, yeah, man, it's a cool deal, and like you should do it with us. And they're like, okay. And then it literally conditioned into this point where it was like I seen how they were spending their money and losing their money and leaking all of their money. And
pro football player, I mean, traditionally
everybody knows that.
The worst money managers in the world, right?
Absolutely. So it literally it got to a point where I would sit down like this with some of my former teammates or who they had referred to me, other players, and I would just look them in the eye and say, hey man, if I don't lose your money, I'm the best investment option you have. And they were like, what? I'm like, dude, it's going to family members and entourages and clubs and cars. It's just leaking. If you give me your money and we do a deal and I don't lose it, I'm the best investment you have. And they were kind of like, it was some of these guys obviously like, you know, whatever. But some of them were like, it sunk in and they're like, yeah, you're right. And fortunately, we were doing really good deals.
Yeah, you're still making money.
We were making money. So I was just trying to set expectations where they should be, right? And it's something I learned really early in my career was that satisfaction for any relationship, whether it be a business partnership, whether it be an investor, whether it be your spouse, satisfaction is only one thing. It's expectations versus performance. And you could literally be making investors 20% IRRs, but if you tell them that you can guarantee 30s, they're going to be disappointed. And so it was one of those things where if I led with, hey, I'm going to underwrite every deal to make sure that I get your principal back, that's all that matters. And then when we made returns, people got really excited about that, which perpetuated obviously the referrals and the growth. And so that led me into my post-career after playing football. And
what time frame is this? What year?
2009.
2009, okay. So right after the crash.
Yeah, absolutely. Which again was fantastic timing for me because I was just getting into real estate full-time, having transitioned away from playing pro football. But at that time, everybody was jumping out of real estate. Like literally there was like 60 or 70% of licensees in the state of Utah didn't renew their license.
Wow.
Because these were a bunch of realtors that were used to like putting signs in the front yard and
making money.
Selling making money. They didn't have to work for it. Most of them came into the business during a time that it was just really easy. Kind of like what it feels like right now. Literally right now there's more licensed realtors in the state of Utah than there has been ever. Because times are good and everybody has a friend or a brother or cousin that wants to sell a property, so they go get their license. It costs them $2,000 and their first commission's $10,000. They're like, great ROI.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
So here's the deal. I came in, everybody's jumping out. I'm kind of like, why is this happening? Well, what I realized really quickly as a realtor, as a licensee, is I was taking all these listings, and I could get listings like butter. I mean, everybody. Like when I got into the business, I remember people talking about, oh man, the lifeline of your business as a realtor is you have to get listings. And so I would knock on every door that had a for sale by owner sign, and I would just cold call every morning for hours. And I started picking up listings. Like my first month, I think I took on like 31 listings, which was like unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Right? So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the best thing's ever happened to real estate. This is And I realized really quickly of the 31 listings, I think I sold one of them.
Oh my goodness.
One.
Wow.
And so everybody wanted a list. But
no buyers.
But there's no buyers, right? And so and not only that, it wasn't just that there was no buyers, it was that everybody's expectations of what their property values were so lofty still. They were still like pre-crash, but we were right in the free fall of the crash. And so to be able to sell your property, you had to jump ahead of the curve. But nobody wanted to do that.
They don't want to take that hit.
Everybody wanted to just sit on the tail end of it
and
just ride it all the way to no man's land, right? And so I couldn't sell anything. But what I did realize was I was picking up a lot of buyer leads. So people would call on the properties. I'd show them another property that somebody was realistic about their price, and we'd sell them that one. And that's what changed it for me, is because I picked up a couple of real estate investors as my buyers.
Yep.
And so these guys would lay out a really simple criteria, and they'd say, hey, go find me a home that's this, this, and this, with at least this much equity, that does this and rents for this. And so I'd go do all the heavy lifting and the legwork, and I'd find this property, and then I'd represent them on the buyer side. I'd make a commission. They'd fix it up, put some, new carpet, new paint, new or whatever. It was like super simple back then.
Yeah.
And they turn around and they'd make 30 or 40 or 50 grand flipping the house. And I'd get another commission. So I'd be like, oh yeah, great, I just made 20 grand.
Yep.
But these guys just made 50.
Yep.
And I'm that guy that's like, whoa, what's going on? I just did all the hard work. You did nothing.
Yep.
You just wrote a check. And so pretty soon I realized, like, I could do that. I'm the one that's doing this.
Which a lot of people listening to the show get mad at, right? The rich get richer. Why is it? You see this on the news all the time, and it's like, well, you can either complain or you can just get on the right side of the deal, right? Yeah, and that's what you decided to do.
So for me, I was like, man, if these guys can do this, I can do this, because I'm literally doing it. I'm the one doing the work. So now I could go find a deal. I could get the seller to pay me a buyer's commission for me buying it. The commission that I earned was literally the down payment that I needed for my private money loan to be able to buy the property. So it was no money out of pocket, because the seller was paying for my down payment. Then I do the fix-ups, and I borrow some money from private sources. We flip this property, and I'd make not only the $20,000 in commissions on both sides, but I'd make an additional 50 or 60 or whatever, however much we were making on the flip. So it just struck me. It was like a total paradigm shift of like, man, this is really easy. I mean, it got to a point where we were building our business. We were doing over 100. We were flipping over 100 homes a year.
Wow. Yeah.
And at that point, it felt illegal. It was like, it was so easy.
Just printing money in your basement.
Honestly, some of these things, we were literally cleaning the carpets and putting a sign on the front, and we were making $100,000 in 30 days.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it got really, really, really good. And again, I just thought, man, I'm really good at this. Looking back, I realized, like, man, I was really lucky with the timing. We were buying everything at half of a replacement cost. So like any fool that was either stupid or brave enough to buy these properties would have been doing the exact same thing I was. So I was definitely uninformed enough to just be hard charging it, which led me to a place that allowed me to like really get ahead. And so we built a lot of capital, and I built a really great investor network and base because we had a track record of a ton of deals that went really, really well. Obviously, as the market changed, and it kind of dictated where I found opportunity. And so as the distressed market went away, foreclosures, we started doing a lot of note deals because we had relationships with banks. From there, it transitioned naturally into development. And then as the market really, really improved, meaning the distressed market was gone, because I was so spoiled, like being born in the distressed market of like buying at half.
These are great deals. Every deal's
your
perfect.
Basis is so low. I was passing on so many deals that people were bringing on because I was like, that's not good. That's not good. I bought that same kind of property for half of that.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly right. So I got to a point where I was kind of sitting on the sidelines. We had made a bunch of money, but I was sitting on the sidelines watching other people still make money. And I realized really quickly, like, hey man, things change and you have to reinvent. You have to pivot. You have to change. And so I started talking to a lot of my investors that now their current or core businesses had really picked up. And because I had made them a lot of money over a lot of years, I was like, hey guys, time to make me some money. So why don't you let me invest in some of your guys' core businesses? And we had a lot of capital to deploy. And so some of them let me do that. And a couple of my early ones were just huge wins. And so again, started the cycle of like this pride, ego, like, man, I'm good at this, and then you do a couple more deals and get your teeth kicked in, you realize there's a lot more to this. And so
the thing I love about your story though, and a lot of people watching maybe they look back this last decade and go, well, those guys were just lucky that just timed the market right. And it's like, well, that you said, I'm lucky, kind of being modest, but luck comes from a lot of sweat and a lot of hard work. Being in the right place at the right time, hey, people listening, you were alive at that same time point. What did you do with it? Right? You didn't do what Aaron did. You didn't. A lot of these investors did. Why? And I love, and then those deals ran out and you said, I'm going to still be in the game. And you can't hit a home run sitting on the bench, right? You got to be in the game at bat swinging. You said, I'm going to do some more deals. We're going to find different types of deals. We're going to do note deals. We're going to do other, we're going to just adapt.
Absolutely.
Any type of market, any type of cycle you can make money in. Even right now, you're still doing deals right now. So tell us kind of from then till now what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, so what happened during that transition is, and you bring up a really good point of, for us, like most people in real estate, especially as they go into development, they become very specialized. It's not very often that you meet a real estate developer or somebody that's doing a lot of projects that's doing like 5 different asset classes, right? Most of them are like, hey, I'm going to do Class A office, or I'm going to do warehouse or light manufacturing, I'm going to do self-storage facilities. I've been a part and a principal of developing and or purchasing, acquiring, stabilizing, and disposing of almost all asset classes. And the reason is you know, and a lot of people say, oh, jack of trade, master of none. It happened to me by accident because when I was buying distressed notes, the way that banks would package all of their inventory, they would say, oh, you want these 5 houses? These are great. I'm going to give you this crappy little movie theater to go with it. Or, hey, you want these 10 homes? Okay, cool. Take this self-storage facility as part of the package.
With it,
Right? So we started doing that, and I was getting these one-off buildings that were retail, that were self-storage, that were office buildings, or dirt that was zoned for this or for that, right? And so they were almost like free with the deals that I knew what I was doing. These other ones, I didn't have a clue. But now that I owned it, I was like, I'm going to learn really, really quickly what the hell I'm supposed to do with this. So I would dive in. I mean, I remember the first time we did our first self-storage facility deal, within like 6 weeks, I had attended 7 self-storage facility conferences throughout the country. I just flying around,
like, I'm going to go learn it.
3 days, full go, paying the $3,000 to $5,000 per course or for a weekend of whatever. Just building my network and learning. Interviewing with some of the biggest self-storage facility companies in the world. Extra Space is a Utah company with like a $4 or $5 billion market cap.
Wow.
I was sitting with their CEO, just random firing questions,
taking
off.
Notes.
Whatever I had to do, right? Because now I'm an owner of this asset class and I got to figure it out. So that was a real benefit to me because when I transitioned out of distressed real estate and became a developer, the deal flow that was coming into me was so diverse. Most real estate guys would only say, hey, this is my vertical. The rest of it is just kind of deflected. But I was like, hey, I got a bigger funnel. And so I'll take on all this stuff. I know how to do it. I've already done all of these kind of deals. And so that was a real benefit.
And then learn what you don't know, right? You travel around, pay for, and you've said this before, I've seen you pay for lots of different coaching masterminds, programs to just learn, to build your network.
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, we're in a day and age where you can get more free content than ever before through YouTube and through social media. But the fact is like, this is the real lesson that I tell people, like the upper echelon, every one of those people pay to play. All of them. Like most people don't learn that. You can get to here just consuming free content, doing the free networking events, but if you want to reach upper echelon of networking, of like hierarchy of, you have to be, I say pay to play. And that's not just content, it's not just masterminds, it's not just groups and networking groups or coaching. It's also just experiential stuff. Like there's a lot of events and things that I've been a part of that I had to write big checks to be a part of, whether they were golf events or travel in this or pay my share of the private jet to travel. But guess who's in that group? I'm paying.
People that did the same thing.
I'm paying to be in that circle. And everybody knows, like, you are the sum of the 5 people you're spending the time with, right? So for me, it's a lesson that it's hard pill for people to swallow because they just think like grit and everything is going to do it all, and it's a big part of it. It's a lot of the heavy lifting, but you got to pay to play too. Like if you want to be there, it's part of the gig. And so we had to learn and we had to figure out who we wanted to be, and we're still kind of figuring that out. But that transitioned into being able to do a lot of different real estate deals, and from there. I started getting a lot of other deal flow. As a matter of fact, most people just kind of thought I was a lender. So people were bringing me deals as a hard money lender. And my pitch to them, they'd sit down and they'd be like, here's my deal, I'm looking for a loan. And I'd be like, well, I'm not a lender. But thanks for coming in. Sounds like an awesome business. Why don't you just let me invest in the business?
Cool.
And people were like, no, I kind of want the loan. And I'd be like, okay, I'll make you a loan. But if I make you a loan, the terms are going to be so egregious. It's what I would call a loan to own. Meaning, I think you're going to fail. I'm betting against you. You probably don't want to take those kind of terms on a loan deal, right? And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, so just let me invest in your company. And then I'm your partner. And then we can grow this thing together. And so that's what I've been doing for probably the last 6 years, is looking at opportunities with fantastic operators, fantastic CEOs, founders, and saying, hey, this is a guy or this is a girl that I think can take it to the finish line.
Yeah.
And they're going to get beat up and they're going to run into dead ends, but they're going to pivot, they're going to learn, they're going to figure it out, they're going to find solutions. And so that's what we've been doing. And I think we've got over 30 portfolio companies now and investments in multiple different asset classes, not only in real estate, but also in different industries, private equity, growth stage, seed, you name it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I love that. And that's something I've talked about on this show too, of something I've seen. I just tell people I run a fund.
Yeah.
And I tell people I have money, or I have a lenders, or I have access to capital. And it's funny how many deals knock on your door, right? And it gets you in the game, gets you talking. A lot of people are, how do I find the deal? How do I find it? How do I talk to, I got to kiss a lot of frogs before you take one, right? Yeah. And that's one way. And it sounds like you got a lot of deals from just your reputation in the game of
being a deal guy, being out there.
I
mean, there was a point where me and a former business partner, we actually ran an ad at an economic summit where we, I don't know, there was a few thousand attendees, and these were all business owners, people that were coming to kind of gauge the socioeconomic conditions for their businesses and lay out plans. And what was interesting was the ad that we ran in the summit's itinerary was like our logo, and then it said like something to the effect of like trying to deploy equity for deals, or like we have equity for deals, or we have equity to spend, or to whatever, however it was worded. But the premise was we got a bunch of money and we need to do something with it. And we didn't have a bunch of money. We had money. We had access to a lot of money. And we got a ton of deal flow from that. Because it's amazing, like even for wealthy people and even for thriving businesses, like everybody needs capital.
Well, Aaron, thanks for coming on today. How can people connect with you and learn more about you? If follow you,
just follow me on Instagram, Aaron Wags, AARONWAGS.
Yeah,
that's it.
Aaron's got amazing content on YouTube, Instagram. You have a lot on there, talking to all sorts of stuff: business, motivation, life. I mean, you've won in a lot of areas of your life, and I love that you're sharing with people. So, anyways, thanks for coming on
today.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So now you're in a bunch of different asset classes. We mentioned hospitality. You're in food and beverage. You're in real estate. Kind of grown. How have you done these deals? Now, for people listening too, you don't run a fund.
No.
But you do a lot of syndicate deals. Walk us through those types of deals. What you do, and they're probably all different, right? I tell a lot of people on the show, we've had previous episodes called Syndicate versus Fund, what to do. Both are awesome paths to go. Sometimes you can do lots of syndicate deals and then roll them into a fund.
Absolutely.
Just keep doing syndicates. You could start from a fund from day one, but you have a lot of background on syndicates. So tell us about your syndicate deals, probably things that you've learned, maybe expensive lessons you've learned along the way.
So syndicating capital for me was just the easiest way to get started. Obviously, formal funds, some of them take some time, they take good management, they take third-party auditing, they take some heavy legal. It's not that you can't do them all without that, but that was the general premise, at least when I got started. So for me, it was like, hey, I can start an LLC and I can literally just sell equity or membership in that LLC as partnership to raise capital for a project. It made it really, really simple.
And for people listening, like a syndicate, you're just bringing capital together in an entity. It's really simple, simple operating agreement.
The fundamentals are, hey, guys, want to do a deal together? You guys each put $100,000 up. We're going to buy this project or invest in this business, and we all own pro rata shares of that in equity. And then you can write an operating agreement that dictates pretty much the exact same parameters that you would find in a PPM or something that says, hey, here's our authorizations, here's how I get paid, here's the preference, here's what, like you can work out all those details in an operating agreement. It's just an easier way or simpler way to do it. And there's some benefits and there's also some negatives toward that. But for me, it was just the way that I got doing things.
When it's faster to get set up and going.
It's faster to get set up. However, in terms of scale, it's really not the ideal vehicle to scale large sums of money. This is a really good vehicle. It's a really good fit for people that want to just start out doing deals and earn a reputation or a track record with investors. And so for me, that was the way that I wanted to start it, and that's the way that we've kind of been rolling it. And you made a great point. It's not like you're pigeonholing yourself. Absolutely, you can create syndicates and do multiple projects and then roll them up into a fund. You can start a fund and you can have your fund buy all of those syndicates or those LLCs. And a lot of people have done that here in the Valley as well. And so for me, that was the easiest way to get started.
Yeah, I love it. So these syndicate deals, right, with partners, what are some lessons that you've learned, and how do you usually structure it? Do you retain, because are you the one putting it together?
Yeah.
So do you retain, say, hey, I'm going to retain maybe 12% or 15% equity for myself. The rest, is put up to investors that put just money in. How do you protect yourself from them doing an aggressive takeover?
That's more of the fund model, where like with a GPLP, where you're going to take a minority share, you're going to take typically a management fee, and then you're going to take a minority carry. In syndicates, especially for mine, and I will say the majority of people when they see my offerings or promotes, they'll think that especially if they come from the fund world, they'll think it seems rich to me because I'm always the majority shareholder in every single
you maintain always
100%. Always I'm the majority. And so people are like, man, if we're putting up the majority of the capital, which typically in a fund like a 2 and 20 model or something like that, they're getting 80% of the deal. In mine, they might get 20% of the deal. They might get 30. They might get 40, but they're never getting more than 50. And so I think that answers your question. How do I insulate myself from a takeover? How do I control the deal? I am the controlling interest always in my deals. The difference is in why I'm able to do that versus a fund model is because I'm not taking a bunch of fees off the top. And so what people don't understand when they go into a fund model is that the fees do add up. They're necessary to run at scale funds. Like for the fund manager, they have to, because you have overhead and expenses and you got to live and whatever. And the life of a lot of these funds is 7, 8, 10 years. And so you have to have those fees. For me, because I have other sources of income and different deals going on, I don't need those fees up front. And so I've always pitched it as a little bit better alignment for investors simply because, hey, I'm not getting paid till you're getting paid. And so I can take a heavier portion of the equity because I'm earning it after you get your money back. And so people really like that alignment, but it creates a lot of challenges for me too from a cash flow perspective because I don't have that management fee coming in, right? So like I said, there's pros and cons, but for me, I've always taken the majority interest. And the difference I also feel is that there's two types of investors, and we'll go into a little bit of like investor profiling because I think that's really important when you're raising capital, and I'll speak to you a little bit about that. But one of the things when I talk about investor profiling, I look at two types of investors. I call them either value-based investors or structure-based investors. And people that were born as structure-based investors, they're always looking for a rich structure to them. So they love 2 and 20 models or 80-20 models or 90-10 models. Like, hey man, we're the money, we're getting most of the deal. That's cool, but how good's the deal? How much value is in the deal? What's your bottom line when it's all said and done? You might get 90% of the deal, but if you end up at an 8% blended IRR over 7 years, was that a home run or was it just a solid deal? Versus a value-based investor that says, okay, this guy brought me a freaking home run deal. Like it's a small, this guy's been in the trenches, he's kicked ass, he's a really good operator. I'm only getting like 10, 20, 30% equity in this thing. But at the end of the deal, the pro forma says I'm going to make 20 or 30%. That's a value-based investor because ultimately the bottom line is all that matters. And in the investment world, if we could take down if we could deprogram people, what really matters to be a great investor is just your ROI. And so when I pitch deals to people, I say, hey, look, don't be a structure-based investor. Come in, just wipe the whiteboard clean. Look at this deal. It's super freaking juicy, and I'm going to give you a wicked return. Contrast this with the bottom line with everything else that you're doing right now as a passive investment. And they're like, yeah, it's really good. Okay, so does it matter how much you get or how much I get? Because the number one rule in all of investing and all of business, I think, for me, is never count other people's money. Ever. I learned this early. I was doing deals where when you start out in real estate as a real estate investor, the lowest hanging fruit is wholesaling. You've heard of wholesaling, right? So you'll tie up a deal, and then you'll resell the deal or you resell the contract. So I would be wholesaling these properties to people, and they'd be like, dude, that's a sweetheart deal. Done. Sign the contract. And then we get to the closing table at settlement, right? And they realize that I just made $30,000 in between as a daisy chain wholesaler. Whoa, man. You're making 30 G's on this for what? What did you do? Oh, I don't know. I just created a value that you're going to rip 50 grand on. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I'm good with that. What do you mean you were tickled pink? You were doing cartwheels when I brought you this deal.
You're so excited about the deal. Yeah. I love that.
What's the problem now? They started counting my money. All of a sudden, it changed the value of the deal. We have to learn from that. I learned from that. Not a lesson for other people, a lesson for myself. That I said, when I underwrite a deal, I'm underwriting it on value to me. Is it a good deal for me? Great. I don't care what anybody else makes. Because the fact is, you could have a zero basis. If you inherited some property from your grandma, it was zero basis to you, and you're going to sell it to me for $1 million, what's the matter what you paid for it? It's worth $1 million.
Yeah, it's still, and it could be a great deal to you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it.
It might be amazing, right? So don't ever count other people's money. One of the things that I want to talk about when you're talking about investor profiling, a lot of people ask me, how do I kind of step up to the next, like, okay, I started with hard money, and now I want to work with like either more well-heeled or wealthier people, higher net
doctor,
worth.
Lawyer money, and then you have you have high net worth and institutional, kind of that.
Absolutely. So how do you make that transition? And often you've heard this. I hear it all the time. And recently, over the last couple of years, there's been a major paradigm shift for me because you hear people like, you always hear these stories like, oh, he doesn't have to work. Oh, he's made it. He doesn't have to work.
They're set.
Okay, they're set, right? Let me just break that down and tell you that that's complete bullshit. Those people that don't have to work, they are the people that have to do deals. You know why? Because it's literally their identity. That's why they are where they're at. That's why they financially don't have to work. They've made it. It's because they have the work ethic, the grit, and it's part of like who they are, their identity of achievement. They starve for that every day, so they have to do deals. So these are the people you want to be working with, right? And people are viewing them like, oh, they don't have to do anything. And now I've learned over time that these are the people that absolutely have to be
just
doing
to
deals.
Be healthy mentally.
Exactly. It's literally what got them to who they are. It's part of who they are. So they got to do deals. Here's the difference. They don't have to do every deal that seems opportunistic. They don't have to work with what I call assholes or woodpeckers, people that are just pain in the butts, or people that aren't good performers. They're at a point now where they get to be very picky choosy about who they work with and what kind of deals they do. And so the underwriting changes for them drastically. And this is what I learned hanging around a lot of wealthy, successful people, is that their underwriting for who they do deals with and what kind of deals they do kind of became this. It boiled down to this really simple premise of, does that excite me? Am I excited about that project? Can I trust this person? And I'll talk about trust and what that means. And then thirdly is, do I like that person? Am I going to enjoy working with them? I've learned from sad experience in investing in multiple companies that when I had to work with certain people that I wasn't super excited with, like they might be great people, but maybe just don't mesh, like gel, personality-wise, right? You literally like find yourself avoiding those meetings or not taking the call or this or that. If you're doing that, you're not going to be your very best value to that business as a board member or whatever your role is, right? So what I learned was these people, instead of like diving into the details, they were taking a very macro approach and they were saying, hey, I like this guy. I want to do business with him. Oh, and I trust him? And what does trust mean? Well, people think when you think of trust, they think of integrity. Integrity is a huge part of it, but it's only 50% of it. The other part of trust is competence. What people don't realize is that I can give you money and know with 99% surety you're not going to steal from me or misallocate or whatever the case may be. I trust you from an integrity standpoint. But if I give you your money and you're a super nice guy and you're really honest, but you just suck at what you do and you piss my money away, it's the exact same net result. Zero. As you being a fraud,
I could be the best guy in the world, but
doesn't matter.
Don't know how to do it.
Still zero. Right? So trust from these guys is, hey, do I trust that he's not going to rip me off and he's going to be honest? He's going to report and tell me the truth. And two, is he just good enough to get things done? Is he competent, right? So now I'm looking at it, if I'm one of these guys saying, hey, does the deal excite me? Is this something I want to be a part of and excited about and is this the type of person I want to work with? And so I changed my whole thesis of trying to attract investors from diving in and giving case studies and showing my track record. I used to send out this like PDF that was like, it literally showed like 100 of my past deals, like purchase price, And then when I sit down with these people, I get like 8 seconds into this presentation or PowerPoint, and these guys were like, so, and it was just BS. They just wanted to shoot the shit with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? I thought these guys wanted to do business.
Like, let's get back to the pitch deck.
Yeah,
let's get back to the good stuff, the numbers.
But I realized very quickly, like, man, I'm way off base. Like, these guys don't care about this. They just want to bet on me. That's why I always talk about, hey, when I'm underwriting deals now, I go from the macro and I say, hey, is this a jockey that I want to bet on? I don't care about the horse. Because, like, you can win with B and C ideas all day if you got an A jockey.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned from these guys was that they wanted to bet on great jockeys. They wanted to do things that were exciting and that were fun and that they could bring intrinsic value to outside of just paying, writing checks. And so that was a big deal for me. It was a big paradigm shift. And as soon as I realized and recognized that, I retuned myself to say, okay, how can I be around these people and provide value to them of what they're looking for? Well, I can be the funnest guy in the group. Maybe I'm the worst golfer on that golf trip, but I might be the funnest dude so that
on the golf
bringing
course,
young energy to this thing. And that's really what happened is, like, even though I was typically like the 15 to 18 handicap amongst a bunch of single digits, I was invited on every golf trip for years. All these
they just loved having you. You were a great person with them.
Young, energy, happy, exciting, talking about cool stuff, doing. And these are the guys that just were like, hey, we like having Wags around. And guess what? They like you. They trust you. You have a track record. You're going to do business with them.
I love that because, it's saying raising money is a lot simpler than it appears. It's not the pitch book. It's not the deck. I love that. So when raising money for someone new starting out, and they're like, man, how do I get in the boardroom? How do I find those high net worth people? We've talked about this a little bit, but what would be your, that exact question to someone like me, brand new, let's say I'm just getting in the fund world or syndicate world and I want to get into this, what would your advice to me be?
The key to that for me was create and participate in relationship accelerating experiences. That's it. I can take you to lunch 15 times and we can talk like this. And we'll walk away and be like, hey, Bridger's a pretty smart guy. He's a pretty nice guy. But if me and you go skiing, like powder skiing, heli skiing, we jump out of a helicopter and we run away from an avalanche, we get buried or this and that, in one day, we're tired, our emotional, just goes through all this, and we're shooting the shit the whole way up in the cat, and like barriers are broke down, and now I know you on a very, very personal level. That versus the 15 lunches, they're different universes. The trust, the respect, that I like this guy goes up, like they're unrivaled. So like for me, when a young guy says, hey, how do I do this? Well, the first thing is never ever do this. Don't call a super successful guy that you want to be mentored by or that you want his advice and say, hey, can I take you to lunch and pick your brain? Okay, that's like super cliche. Everybody says, I did it all the time when I was a kid because that's what you hear. Like, hey, take a guy, pick a mentor, go pick his brain, right? Look, you know what you're telling me, and I don't mean this condescending, so I don't want to make people feel bad if they're doing this, but I want them to change right now. I get a call or message or a text or a DM every day, like literally hundreds a week, asking that same question. And this is what you're telling me. Okay, Aaron, you've got 20 years of experience and all this and and resources, and you're super busy, I can tell, because you're doing a lot of stuff. But I want to take you to lunch, which is probably like a half hour out of my way, and then an hour lunch or hour and a half. That's 2 hours of my day. And guess what? I'll pick up your $10 tab. Does that sound like a good value proposition for me?
Not at all. Yeah, you're not adding any value.
Zero value added. Like everybody knows, like, hey, how do you get in? How do you break into these circles? You got to add value. That's not adding value. Offering me a free lunch, you already know I'm rich. I can pay for my own lunch. And two, what's my most valuable commodity?
Time.
Okay, so now you're asking to take 2 hours of my time for $10. It's a crappy value proposition. So instead of doing that, which you should never do, you should think of ways that you can actually add value to people. One of the examples that I used in a former podcast was my current videographer. He called me up one day or DM'd me or something and said, hey man, I love what you're doing. I'd love to show this to a lot more people. Can I just come in for a day and literally just film all of what you're doing and create some really cool content so we can put it out there for you? I was like, sure. Not any kind of disruption for me. He literally sat in my office for 2 days, sat in every single meeting that, by the way, not even one person on my executive team is allowed to sit through every meeting. With investors, with business partners. filming. Dude, the kid wanted to learn. He didn't ask me to come pick my brain. He got behind the curtain and got to be exposed to everything by offering me something of value. So when you want to provide value, give it some time, give it some thought. Don't just like, shoot and then aim. It's like sharpen the axe for a little bit before you start chopping down the tree.
Well, I love that too. And people starting out, you have more time than money, and someone like you has more money than time, right? So how can someone that's new, like a videographer, right? I have time. Okay, I'll give up 2 days of time to come video and edit. It's going to be 20 hours of editing after to give you. I love that. That's amazing.
Yep. And that's the way that you have to do it. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. When I was young, I would try to combine that value add with relationship acceleration. So I would literally, and combine that with my other premise of pay to play. I would say, okay, I'm going to create a really cool experience that maybe even a lot of rich people have never experienced, like supercars. So we started a race club out at the track where everybody that I knew had really cool supercars. A lot of wealthy people were just so busy, they never had a supercar, they never got into it, so they never driven or ridden in one. So we combined them all at the track. We created a cool club. We invited all these people to come out to a track day where they got to race these Lamborghinis and Ferraris and everything else. We didn't ask them about business. We didn't ask them if we could pitch them anything. We just said, come out and have a great time. Give them some free food, have a great time. And guess what? You build, and now you're having relationship accelerating experiences. Did it cost me money? Yeah, I paid to play. But it came back tenfold. This conversation, for a lot of the entrepreneurs that are consuming your content, they actually probably have pretty good confidence and faith in themselves. What they sometimes battle is maybe a girlfriend, maybe a business partner, maybe even a wife, a spouse, or a husband that doesn't have the same confidence or build that they do. So they're sometimes in a struggle, and this is how it was when I started, where it's like, hey, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. We're going to sacrifice. I'm going to invest maybe more than we should, or
sounds like a big check.
But honey, this is going to work. I remember when I started just like that. I had just finished playing. We didn't have a ton of income, and I was like, man, I'm going to land these big deals. These investors, I got to ask them for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And I'm driving a Nissan Altima. It's kind of a crappy car and whatever else. And I'm not all about like horse and pony show. It works. It's all that. But at the same time, I knew that I already had age against me. I was 24 years old. And if I'm asking people for $1 million and I'm driving a crappy car, like, it's not a great show. And so what did I do? I went and bought a car, and my payment was a Mercedes S550, and my payment on the car was more than our mortgage payment.
Wow.
And my wife was really scared.
Oh, I bet.
And I was like, honey, this is going to work because I'm going to drive up. I'm a 24-year-old driving a $150,000 car, and they're going to be like, this guy's doing something right. And sure enough, it did. And it paid for itself 10 times over. And I'm not saying that everybody should go fake it till they make it or over-leverage themselves. There's a lot of balance, right? And you've got to develop your own strategy that works for you and your personality and your style. But I will say you should take risks. And what happens is, for the spouses or for the business partners, when you see that they're exuding enough confidence in whatever their strategy is, just support them, because naysaying and second guessing and all that stuff is never going to do anything good for you. Like, if you think you're being a protector, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's going to take time for you as that entrepreneur to build that trust with your spouse or with your partner. And so don't screw that up. But to the partner or to the spouse, I would say being a cheerleader and a champion is the best thing you can be, because the rest of the world's going to kick you. The rest of the world's going to tell you can't. It's like being a parent. You guys aren't parents yet.
No.
But, I mean, you're going to get there. And I think it's so crazy, like that there's parents out there that literally tell their kids, oh, you can't do that. Oh, that won't work. Oh, they don't do those kind of, you don't do these kind of things. Like, that's what the world does to kids. Like, what we should do to be our best parents is we should tell them they can do freaking anything. Like, anything. You can think of, you can do it. You just got, like, here's the formula, but you can do it.
Be the one person in that life 100%. That tells them that. I love it.
Because who else do they have? And the best part about it, and this is what people don't realize about good parenting, is that if your child comes in this world and you tell your child from day one that the sky's green, guess what color the sky is?
It's green.
It's green. And guess what? As they grow up, they're always going to believe what you said over anybody else. Why? Because you care the most. It's the same thing with any kind of relationship, whether it's your spouse, whether it's an investor, a business partner, it doesn't matter. Once they know you care, and you care more than what somebody else is saying, they're going to take more credibility and credence in what you say. I learned that lesson on my mission. It was like, hey, you can really, once people know you really care and love them, then pretty much anything you say won't offend them, because you're meaning it for their best, for their best, for them, for the best self, right? And so that's just something that as parents we always want to instill in our kids, is like, you're going to believe you can do it.
So how did you win, like, and a lot of people struggle with this too, spouse, friends, family.
Yeah.
Usually the people with your same last name are the ones that are going to pick you apart the most. How do you deal with that?
It still happens.
And win them over to your side or convince them? I mean, that's a whole management system in itself, right? Yeah, how do you do that?
So part of it is, like I said, just track record, right? I mean, you're going to have people that are going to be naysayers, and some are going to be your family members. Some of those people are going to be the closest people to you. But win after win after win, it goes from, oh, he got lucky, to, wow, he's really lucky, to, okay, maybe he's doing something.
Maybe it's more than luck. Yeah.
Okay, he's kicking ass. And so that's just going to be like proof in the pudding. It's going to be track record. But part of that also is just, man, there are people in your life, and we don't get to pick all our family members. We do get to pick who we choose or spend our time with on a daily basis. But we're going to have family members and friends and close loved ones from our past that no matter what you do are always just going to kind of look for the negative or hang their hat on like the bad time or the bad experience. And so those are their problem. Those are not your problem.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned is that, especially early in my career, I literally tried to like please everyone. I wanted to make everybody happy. We would do deals where I was getting absolutely the raw end of a deal. Like, this wasn't just my opinion. This was like very blatantly, I'm getting screwed.
Yeah.
But I still would go out of my way to make sure that that person was super happy, that they got the better part of it, because I was like, my reputation means everything in this business.
Yeah.
I got to just make it right no matter what. And I would take the brunt end of the deal. That was kind of flawed thinking. It seemed honorable.
It seems like, pay it forward. They'll come back to me in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly, right? My reputation, people.
Yeah.
And there's been some of that. There's been like, hey, early I lose a deal, I lose somebody's money, and I paid them back even though it wasn't an investment, it wasn't a loan, it wasn't
a check out of your pocket,
exactly,
pay them
out of
off,
my pocket. And people have told that story, and it's probably done good things for me. But ultimately, what I learned was that if you're doing everything right, you're doing all those things, you're still not going to make everybody happy. And people are still going to talk crap about you. There's still going to be negative answer, pick this or pick that. And so what I finally came to grips with, which gives me a lot of like comfort and solace and just being the most authentic me, is I'm just not everyone's cup of tea. That's it. It's that simple. No matter how much I do, some people are just going to really, really like Aaron Wagner, and some people are just going to be like, that guy's a douche.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it now.
All right, Aaron, so your business, your model, you guys invest in a lot of different asset classes. I get hit up by people all the time. Bridger, I'm really interested in stocks and bonds. I'm interested in real estate. I'm interested in buying franchises. What should I do? Yeah. And I'm like, well, just pick. I tell people most of the time, pick one. I don't see too many funds out there that scale on massively, but there are some. Right? Some do it on a broader scale, and you've been able to do that with your syndicate deals and partners and like that. Tell us about your investment strategies and different asset classes that you've looked into and why you've done it that way. I would love to hear.
For sure. So, I think the conventional answer is to specialize. Right? That's why there's so many specialists in the world, right? In different industries, different asset classes. There's a lot of wisdom in that because you can go really deep, and the more you know about something, become a little bit more of an expert in doing that, right? The way that I've been able to do it, it hasn't been so much of like a really methodical, thought out strategy. It's been more of just a product of what interests me and why I believe that you're always going to be your very best if you're just really engaged and excited in what you're doing. And because I'm excited and engaged in a lot of things, that's kind of been the result of my investment strategy. So to talk about what that strategy looks like, it's really simple. I always just, for people, I break it down really quick in buckets, right? So opposite end of the spectrum, this is like, your really, really low risk, probably lower coupon reward type investments, real estate, secured, that kind of thing. On the opposite end might be like sports gambling or cryptocurrency or whatever, like moonshot type stuff, super high risk, almost never secured, right? And along that spectrum, there's a couple other buckets, and it's just asymmetrical risk versus reward, right? So that's my investment strategy. When people talk about diversification, they talk about diversifying, like if you're in the stock market, diversify across all these different stocks or bonds, right?
Yep.
I look at diversification as, hey, I'm going to diversify my risk versus reward on that spectrum, and then I'm also going to diversify in industry and investment type, because typically when we have cyclical, like economic cycles, it affects or compounds or impacts one industry or one side of that a lot more than the other, right? And so it's a lot of times why even specialists try to diversify within, like if the real estate guys, they just try to do multiple asset classes, because when hospitality gets hammered, self-storage does fantastic, right? So I try to do that with businesses and with real estate, and it's worked great. You know, we've had cycles, we've had softenings, and food and beverage has done fantastic. Whereas some of our asset classes, maybe Class A office, has done terrible, or hospitality has done less good. And so this is kind of just a way that I've always wanted to run my business, because it keeps me excited and it keeps me engaged. But it's absolutely a pitfall to try to spread yourself too thin and not be kind of a master of any trade. So what I've done is I've tried to go from the macro and say, what is my value add to any of these scopes or any of these businesses? What am I good at? What's my core competency? And
to interrupt you, okay, you talk about asymmetrical risk, right? That's higher return for lower risk, right? There's a control factor in there, which you're talking about right now of, yes, it's not just all zeros and ones. You insert Aaron Wagner into this asset class, there's going to be a control factor that you can get higher returns for a lower risk parameter. Which I love.
Based on my core competencies, based on my talents, based on my resources, right? So when I'm looking at it, it's not just, hey, is this my specialty? It's, can my specialty be a massive value add to this opportunity? It's kind of backwards, right? But like you say, unconventional, it's who I am, it's how
I love it. No, I love it.
And mostly just because I've never been taught. I've never really had a mentor. Everybody said, yeah, get in, get a mentor. I wish I would have. I wish I had the opportunities that are out there for everybody else right now, but I just didn't. And so I was just figuring things out on my own. And this was the best way that I knew to do the things that I wanted to do and to do them well. And so instead of taking on operational roles as a CEO or a CFO or a this or that in every one of these businesses, I said, what am I good at? Well, I know I'm good at raising capital. I know I'm good at relationships. I know I'm good at deal structure. I know I'm good at sourcing. So now, how can I do all these things that I want to do, but still bring my value to each of these in a high value proposition? Well, start an investment firm, right? And so for me, like when you hear investment firm, it's like, oh, people come in, you counsel them. No, that's not who I am. I'm a principal investor in every one of our portfolio companies and deals, and I'm typically either on a board seat or some kind of operational role where in a limited role, I'm bringing value outside of just bringing the capital. And that might just be connecting the right people or bringing the right staff in, or, you know what I mean? Restructuring the way they're doing things, scaling the business, whatever it is. But that's how I've been able to do it. And so I think the bottom line, to answer your question, is rather than trying to extract how I can bring the value from the business, I'm figuring out how I can bring the value to the business based on what my core competencies are.
We have just a few more minutes here too. So diving into that, you said almost 30 different companies you're invested in right now. How does that look? If you're with your schedule, how have you structured that management system of, are you on calls once a week with each company, twice a week, once a month, or do you have partners that you've put in place? How does that structure look like to manage? And you mentioned adding value. How do you do that?
I just had a little bit of this conversation with my brother yesterday, because he asked me, he said, Aaron, do you ever feel like you're just maybe like run yourself too thin, so that like maybe things are getting soft in a place that you could have been better at by just not taking on as much? And I said, yeah, sometimes I do feel like that. When I have those feelings, it makes me reanalyze exactly how I'm doing, how much I'm giving to each one of those, and what else I can do and how I can do it better. But to answer your question, how can I do that? Well, I can do it better than I'm currently doing. I know that. And that's part of like what my goals are. Everybody has their goals. Like for me, it's like, how can I do each one of these things better? But the basis of how I've set myself up to do that is by absolutely having incredible staff and incredible business partners. And it also comes back to the fundamental premise of when I invest in these companies, I'm not just enamored by the idea. Because good ideas are a dime a dozen, execution rules the world, right? I mean, I say it all the time, but it's like, dude, there's graveyards full of good ideas. That doesn't mean anything. So for me, when I'm looking at this idea, I'm not enamored by the idea. I'm saying, hey, is this CEO or is this operator or founder, can he run this company autonomously? Can he make hard decisions? When he hits the wall, will he figure shit out? If the answer is yes, then I have way more confidence that he can be a good, sustainable business partner for me, because he's not going to take a lot of my time. He's going to be really efficient, and when he needs me, and I'm going to be there for him. And I'm going to make those small adjustments that are going to be incrementally huge for the business, right? And so the way that I've done it is having a great executive team, which I do. Like, these people are fantastic. They're really, really good. And then my business partners in each one of those companies are just good. And if they're not, the business fails. And I'm not going to prop it back up, because I'm macro. I want this to thrive, not just this. And so it's really on them. And so when people come in and they want to pitch me a business idea and they're like, hey, I've got this great idea and I just want you to make it awesome, it's like, not the fit for me, because I'm not going to make it awesome. I'm going to do some things to help make it more awesome. But I always tell people, like, I very rarely had a really good idea. I'm not super creative, but I'm a really good copycat. And when I see people doing things, I instantly know how to do them better or at better scale. And so my alignment and my management is typically one of, hey, is this person capable and competent? And can I just fuel the fire? Can I be better?
Just dump gasoline on the fire. I love that.
Yep.
Well, Aaron, thanks for coming on today. How can people connect with you and learn more about you? If follow you,
just follow me on Instagram, Aaron Wags, AARONWAGS. That's it.
Aaron's got amazing content on YouTube, Instagram. You have a lot on there, talking to all sorts of stuff: business, motivation, life. I mean, you've won in a lot of areas of your life, and I love that you're sharing with people. So, anyways, thanks for coming on today.
Man. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This show was created with the sole purpose of being able to inspire other people and to be able to give back.